Hello and welcome to Perfectly Paranormal, episode 91. My name's annaschmidt, and I'm here every week to share with you true paranormal encounters and information about devils, demons and dark energy beings that no one else talks about. They truly don't. And today we are busting open demonic myths with 4 questions from my listeners. We're going to explore, do demons only come out at night? And does the full moon empower demons and give them strength? And is sunlight a deterrent to demons? And the most interesting question of all, can demons go into churches? So let's get started today with, do demons only come out at night? I have to say I love answering listeners' questions because it's what's on your mind. So if you've got a question, send me an email. You'll find my email address in the description box. Now, do demons only come out at night? This question I will have to give a great big resounding no. No, and no. Even though nighttime has been associated with darkness and mystery and fear, often perceived as a time when evil forces are most active. That's what we most think. That's what people have thought all through history. This association is likely because the darkness at night, it obscures your vision and it really does heighten your other senses. And it makes people more susceptible to fear, anxiety, panic, and really and truly exaggerated imaginations. Now, many traditional tales and religious texts describe demons as creatures of the night, preying on vulnerable people while they sleep. And to a point, this is kind of true, because when we are asleep, our awareness is lower, and they can get closer to us, and sometimes even into our dreams. And I'll have to say that I've always been a very light sleeper. And not necessarily because of the paranormal, it is just the way that my body functions. I hear everything. Like when my family lived here, walking up and down the hallways, going to the toilet of a night time, I hear everything. And sometimes I get spirits or dark energy beings in my bedroom. And I would feel the ever so slightest touch from a spirit wanting help. They would touch my hair, my lips, and even my eyelids. Yep, that's pretty creepy. They know what triggers me is that kind of very close touch in those particular places. It is just, well, I have to say that I've set very firm bedroom boundaries around this now. No touching. I do, though. I do get the occasional poke in the back or my knee or a tug on my ankle or the doona by the darker energies. If they are connected to a house clearing job, this is the usual reason why they come into my bedroom. They figure, right, we're going to try and frighten her. We're going to put her off the job. We're going to make her so scared of us, she will not come near the property. I have to say it doesn't work. It never works. And I simply say to them, I know you're here. Can you please leave? You don't affect me in any way. Please leave my house now. And then I just go back off to sleep. Now, there are demonic magic entities that have been summoned by practitioners to harm others. And these guys are the same as the freelancing demonic entities. They're all out and about day and night. And you know why? It's because they don't have any concept of day and night. They simply exist, and that's it. And there's been many interpretations of the word demon as metaphors for psychological or emotionally challenging situations that arise from time to time. Now, for instance, in Christian theology, demonic influence is seen as a constant spiritual battle. Now, this battle is not limited to nighttime. It is simply day and night. It's simply all the time. And on a similar run, in psychological contexts, demons can be referred to as internal conflicts, the inner demons, or they can be connected to mental health issues that an individual may face irrespective of the hour. Simply day and night, they are everywhere. They are pure energy of a denser form. So therefore, while the imagery of demons coming out at night is rather powerful, and it does excite some people. You've got your paranormal addicts, you've got your paranormal investigation people, you've got your people running paranormal tours. Most people aren't at work at night, and they can go on these investigations, and they want to explore and get to know what's out there about the unknown. Now, have you ever seen dark, shadowy figures or wafting black shapes during the day? I know that I have. They're much easier to see, actually, during the day, especially up against light-coloured walls or moving through the house, and you see them in your peripheral vision. That sort of sudden movement of energy or that sudden shadow-like figure. They're just simply moving around in our environment. But also, too, this is another thing to think about. Are they moving around in another dimension? I'm talking multiple dimensions all overlapping at the same time, in the same place, which is how I think of this reality, is that we're all connected to the above and the below and the cosmic entities that are out there. So is that shape that you are seeing moving through your lounge room, is it actually in your house, or is it simply in another reality? Now let's look at, does the full moon give demons strength? I have to say the short answer is no. Not from my opinion, not from my observations, and this is why. Their strength is constant. It is just a constant part of their being. The moon energy affects our physical bodies. Dark and demonic entities don't have a physical construct. They are pure energy. And why we see them as dark beings is because their energy is denser than the reality that we are living in. They're a dense form of energy, like a thick, if I could explain it, it's like a really thick, dense fog. Now, we've all driven through those on the odd occasion. We call them pea soup fogs here in Australia. Now, the full moon, as we all know, has long been associated with supernatural occurrences and heightened magical, mystical energy. And in some traditions, the full moon is considered a time when the veil between the physical world and the spirit realm is at its thinnest, allowing for increased activity from otherworldly beings. And this includes spirits, dark and demonic entities. Now, this belief is seen in stories of your traditional werewolves transitioning under the full moon's light, witches performing powerful rituals, and spirits becoming more active. And the bright illumination of the full moon has often been thought of kind of as a catalyst for unleashing hidden forces and enhancing the potency of supernatural entities. But in my opinion, this notion of the full moon empowering demons, it really is a bit of a fallacy. It's largely symbolic. It's very much connected to the way we've been trained to think. I don't find, if I have interactions with dark or demonic entities around the full moon time, I don't find them any stronger than any other time. The tugs on the blanket, the pulls on my ankles, the pokes in my back, they only vary, and it's not got to do with the demon's strength. It's got to do with, it can be a few things. It can be how annoyed they are, or if they really want my attention, they will poke me harder, or they will pull on my blanket harder. It's simply just them using the strength they already have to get my attention. And some, like in some of my other episodes, I've talked about the different levels of dark and demonic entities. Some of them simply naturally have more strength than others, because I look at the demonic realm and all its inhabitants as like an army. So they have their privates and their sergeants, and then you have your sub-commanders, and then you have your legion generals, and then you have the big dude himself. They've all got different levels of strength. It's just like people all have different levels of strength. I don't think our strength changes at full moon time. But as we all know, people love a bit of supernatural drama. They really, really do. And scientifically, The moon's phases are just the result of the moon's position, of its relative position to the earth and the sun. And there's no inherent power that influences demonic activity. Even though some people, this is talking people now, people feel energized. And this is because we're in these physical bodies. Our physical bodies, our physical construct reacts to the pull of the moon's energy. And sometimes people they can feel heightened, or they can feel depressed. They can experience sort of emotional and mental shifts that invoke strong emotional responses. I've seen it in so many people. I saw it in children when I worked as a teacher assistant. I was always very observant, but I would be in a classroom and I wouldn't even know when it's full moon time. I don't track the phases of the moon. It's not part of my work. It's not part of my spiritual beliefs or practices. It just isn't. But I knew when it was full moon time, sort of that week leading up to the full moon. Some of the children were highly energized, more active. I wouldn't say they were naughtier, but they were emotional. They were reactive. They couldn't control their emotions. But I mean, you're talking primary school age children here, so sometimes they're like that anyway. But I would then go home and get on the computer and go, okay, so full moon, July, 2022. And I'd look it up and I'd go, oh, there it is. We're in that full moon week. So people are allowed to doubt this and go, oh, it's just a load of rubbish. But I see the changes in people. And I know from myself that I experience disturbed sleep. So while this full moon's connection to demonic strength, I think, is a myth, is it more a reflection of the human imagination? Paranormal drama and all that, and enhancing people's energetic reactions. And I wonder, though, if people's fear, this is a very valid point, if people's fear of demons gaining more strength on a full moon, does that actually feed these entities' energy? Does it enhance their energy levels in some way? Food for thought there. So now it's time to look at, is sunlight a deterrent to demons? And I think you know what my answer is going to be, but I'm going to say it anyway. The short answer again to this question is no. No, no, and no. And where I get this no from, it's just my long-term observations of these entities during the day and night. During the day, I might be at home, I might be doing a house clearing, I'm interacting with these entities. I used to see them move around my house a lot until I activated a very strong 4 layers of protection around my property. So now these beings that are coming from other people's places, other people's homes that I'm working on, get stuck around the outside of my property protection. So these beings just simply move around day, night. They don't care. It's just like they do live in our reality, but they kind of don't. Remember that interdimensional thing I mentioned? So are they moving around in their dimension where it is darker maybe, but they're in our dimension, which is daylight? It kind of boggles the brain a little bit when you think about it. But I feel their presence more than seeing them. Occasionally I do see them when I'm doing house clearing jobs, or they'll make themselves known. Now sunlight, where did these thoughts about sunlight being a deterrent to demons come from? This is quite an old concept that's really deeply embedded in various religious traditions, mythologies, and some folklores. Light, particularly sunlight, has been symbolically associated with goodness, purity, and the vanquish all dark entities daring to show their faces. Or so people think. Now, I do wonder, is this just an avoidance measure? So people don't have to think about or even deal with dark entities during the daytime. In many cultures, demons and sometimes malevolent spirits, because there are a few of those out there, they're thought to be creatures of darkness. Really, they just have a denser form of energy. And people think that they only thrive in the absence of light. That's an absolute fallacy. It is not true. Sunlight is not an issue for lower vibrational beings. It just isn't. But this is the thought that came to mind when I was writing notes for this episode. I do wonder, when these entities hitchhike in people's energy fields, does this shield them from the light? I've never had a demonic being tell me that sunlight is a problem. Maybe that is a question that I actually need to put to them next time I have one wafting around, and I will get back to you on that and let you know what answer I get. Now, from a psychological perspective, sunlight has a significant impact on our moods and our well-being. I know that. We all know what it's like to go through winter, and all of a sudden spring and summer comes along and you want to be outside and you feel great and you feel really good. It's uplifting. And some people think of it as a protective force. Bright, sunny environments, a lot of people think, are less conducive to the fear and the anxiety that accompanies thoughts of the supernatural. Additionally, practical aspects like increased visibility or being busy or being at work or just that bustling sort of activity that we all have during the daylight hours, can they make people feel safer and less vulnerable to unseen threat in the darkest of places? People are so busy, unless you're like me and work in this reality, most people who are at work aren't thinking about the demons in the closet or under the bed or in the dark spaces. They're busy at work. It's not part of your thoughts during the day. And this got me thinking about when we're busy during the working hours of the day. Most of us work during the day, not all of us, but we don't have time to ponder the darkness and the entities. But when we're at home or we're quieter and our minds are quieter at night time and we hear scratching and knocking and strange sounds and we might see a shadow move through our house, is it a darker entity? Our minds can quite often be triggered by the darkness because we can't see into all the corners in our homes. We can't see under the beds. But we've been brainwashed into thinking that these beings are always hiding in the darkness. And they're not. They are simply not. They move about in the day and the night. I do wonder though, this was the thought that came to mind, people who work nights, do they see or hear or sense entities in their workplaces? Say, for example, people who work in hospitals. Hospitals have 24-hour-a-day schedules where people are working all the time. Hospitals are riddled with sadness and despair and trauma, which attracts the darker energy beings, attracts the demonic beings. Now, if you're a night worker, maybe in a hospital or somewhere else, if you've ever had a paranormal experience that you would like to share, you can send me an email at spiritualbeing44@gmail.com, and I would love to hear your story. And now we are getting to my favourite question. Can demons go into churches? Now, I've had this argument with a few people over the years, so I learned to keep my opinion to myself. But it came up again with a listener sending me this question, so I thought, why not add this to our Demonic Myths episode? So this is a fascinating question, and it really does challenge many, many people's thoughts and opinions and their religious beliefs. And I'm going to answer a great big yes, yes, and yes. Demons can go to church, and this is why. I'm going to talk about how they go to church too. This question of whether demons can enter churches has been a topic of many theological and religious debates over the years. And if you look on some of the forums online, I quite often will have a look at Reddit. I quite often like to read through other people's opinions, see what people think. This question blows up quite often. People get irritated and agitated by the thoughts of dark energy beings going into places that they think are safe. We all know that churches are considered sacred spaces, consecrated by religious rituals and practices and the presence of the divine God energy and that holiness that comes with the church. People think that acts as a protective barrier against demonic entities. This perspective is often supported by the use of blessed objects such as crucifixes, holy water, and religious relics, which are believed to repel or weaken demonic presence. I have to tell you they don't. Another demon myth-busting answer there for you. Religious objects do not repel demonic entities. A person's faith, on the other hand, depending how strongly you believe in whatever religious construct that you belong to, depending on your level of faith and your level of vulnerability mentally and emotionally, you may be able to keep demons away with your faith. But there's so many other aspects that attract them. Let's not get sidetracked on that. But historic accounts and religious texts often depict churches as places of refuge where individuals can seek protection from demonic attacks and spiritual warfare. This is what people believe. This is what we've been told through the centuries. Churches are a safe place to go. But I have to say that I truly believe that people are more of a problem than your random freelancing dark and demonic entities. People hurt people. We see it every day on social media, on the news, on the TV. People are the problem, not the dark and the demonic entities. And I have to say too that I've sat next to some rather questionable people when I've been in churches, whether it be for weddings, for funerals, when I used to go to church as a youngster. People have energetic attachments. If you think that you're, say, carrying around two dark beings and maybe a demonic being that you've attracted because of some life trauma you're going through, do you think they are going to wait outside the church until you come out again? No, big no on that one. They're simply in your energy field or present in your chakras or your meridian lines. Wherever they've set up camp, they're going into church with you. Now, does your energy shield them from some of the church's energy, from that vibe that churches pump out? I don't know. There's so many people that go into churches with problems, with traumas, with addictions, with hatred and blame and guilt and resentment and sorrow. Churches are just as infested with emotional imprints as any other building, any other location, any object. They just simply are. I'm very straight-laced about this. A spade is a spade when I talk about this stuff. I'm not going to fluff it up and make it all light and fluffy for you. I tell it how I see it, from what I've experienced and from what my clients have told me through their experiences. Now you will find this interesting. This next information I'm going to share with you came from a pastor who shared his thoughts on a Reddit thread. I'm sort of just going to do a summary of it. Theological views online that agree with the fact that there's no absolute protection provided by the church. They, being clergy and pastors, discussed the fact that demons can infiltrate even the most sacred spaces when people or parishioners have a personal lack of faith, or they have a lack of faith in the congregation or the leadership of the church, or they have unconfessed sins. Or even sometimes, if the church leaders have false beliefs or other detrimental intentions or behaviours that are bringing greed or ego or lusting for power and wealth into their churches. Now, I'm not having a dig at the church here. Priests and pastors and anyone that works in a church, they are people too. They are just like you and me. And we all struggle at times with temptation in all its many forms. And in some people's minds, the idea that demons entering sanctified lands and churches can also symbolise the broader struggle between good and evil in us all, whether it's external or internal. So what it does is that it highlights that no place is free from spiritual conflict. It just isn't. Spiritual conflict is part of the reason why we are here. Are we going to go down the good path? We're going to choose the dark path. Do we choose the dark path and then go, oh no, this is wrong, and we work our way back to the better path that is better for our well-being, that is better for our personal growth and our spiritual growth? Life is a constant up and down of dealing with this spiritual conflict all the time. The archangels, the angels, the spirit guides, they support us. The dark and the demonic beings, they challenge us, they tempt us, they teach us about ourselves. It just is what it is, and there is no way to avoid it. So what do you think? Have I answered your undying questions about demonic presence amongst us? I hope I have. I've done my best to. I always share everything that I know with you. So stay tuned for episode 92, where we're going to be talking about house healing and the not so glamorous side of energy work. People get all starry-eyed and they think they can make a few quick bucks, or they're going to become a famous Instagrammer or YouTuber from sharing their energy work. I have to tell you, I get many emails from people who are interested in the glamorous side of working with the paranormal, but they're not interested in the hard slog. They're not interested in the day-to-day, 24/7 exhausting lifestyle that comes with this line of work. When you're interacting with energy beings of all different levels, now we all know I love it. I'm a paranormal addict. I love my work and I love what I do, but it is exhausting, and I'm going to share all my ups and downs with the house healing and some of the experiences that I've witnessed with fellow training house healers, the fellow students, the fresh meat, as the demonic beings call it, the people who are easily triggered and easily manipulated by dark beings. But I'm not going to talk about it now. So if you're thinking about paranormal energy work as a career, this is going to be the episode that you don't want to miss. If you like the content of this episode today, please think about leaving me a rating and a review. What reviews do is they let other people know your thoughts about my supernatural subject matter. People love reading reviews, and we're spreading the word about the real paranormal world around us. I would really appreciate it. So thank you for joining me today. And don't forget, if you want to share a paranormal experience just with myself, or you would like me to share one of your experiences through my podcast, you can do a voice recording, or you can write out your experience and I will read it exactly as you have written. You can email me at spiritualbeing44@gmail.com. And for information on paranormal house clearing, you can visit my website, Spiritual Being. You will find the address in the description box. And I look forward to sharing this spooky space again with you next week. And remember, life is perfectly paranormal.